Canelo versus David Benavidez. Who do I got? Now, why am I making this video? Well, we've seen David Benavidez' previous performance against Caleb Plant. It was absolutely astonishing. I really thought that Caleb Plant had this fight, to be honest with you guys. I thought we were going to see the fight Caleb Plant versus Canelo again. But David Benavidez showed that he isn't overhyped, that he is the Mexican monster, that he could put the work in. Now, what can I tell from David Benavidez? Is that he throws a lot of quantity. He's a quantity puncher. That means that he won't knock you out in the first punch that he throws, which is very dangerous when you're fighting a guy like Canelo. And Canelo is a one punch man. That man can knock you out with one punch. He doesn't need to throw a bunch of quantity. Now let's move on to Canelo. What did he do against Caleb Plant? Well, we've seen he knocked him down. He knocked him out. Now, even though David Benavidez' performance wasn't as great as Canelo against Caleb Plant, we could already see that David Benavidez isn't far off. Again, he's very young. David Benavidez is still in his mid-20s. He could still learn. He still has years to learn. Now, before he takes on this fight with Canelo, I want to see him fight Charlo before he fights Canelo, just so he could get more experience. I know Charlo is going to fight Canelo in a couple of months, but I want to see David Benavidez get a warm-up fight before the Canelo fight, because this has to be a mandatory fight against him and Canelo. Because again, David Benavidez keeps on performing. Even though he hasn't fought too many great fighters, what he did against Caleb Plant was absolutely astonishing. We have to see this fight. Now, how do I see this fight going if it does happen in the near future? Well, I see David Benavidez throwing a bunch of quantity, but I don't think David Benavidez wins this one. Why do I say this? It's because Canelo just has way too much experience, has fought in too many great fighters to get slipped up or get caught with one. Canelo has very great head movement. I don't think David Benavidez is that experienced or has the power to do any damage to Canelo or do anything that Canelo hasn't seen. Again, he has fought in Triple G, a very good power puncher, and he still didn't go down. And like I said, David Benavidez is a quantity puncher, is a boxer that throws a lot of quantity. That means to knock you out, he has to throw a lot of quantity, which isn't good. You rather want to be a guy like Canelo who has to throw one punch and he knocks you out. But again, I think it's still a very great fight. Again, David Benavidez is getting in better shape. We've seen his abs popping out now. He's getting slimmer. So at the end of the day, who do I have? David Benavidez or Canelo? I have Canelo on this one. I actually think he will get him in the later rounds and he might knock him out. And if it doesn't go to a knockout, I think it will go to the judges and Canelo wins, just because I think he will catch him and he will be way more quicker than David Benavidez.
Now, why is this fight and these two fighters so hyped? Well, it's because if you put them out of the picture, you take Canelo out of the picture and you take David Benavidez out of the picture, who else around that weight class is at the top that they haven't already beat? There isn't nobody else. Caleb Plant was on top of that chart. But now that Canelo and David Benavidez have beat Caleb Plant, it kind of leaves them both at the top. It puts them at the top of the leaderboard. So this fight has to happen. And a lot of people saying that Canelo is ducking David Benavidez only because he knows that David Benavidez is younger and he has more heart in him and he wants that fight with Canelo. And Canelo obviously responded saying that,
guys, always I say this, you share that video and put whatever you want. When I say I don't want to fight Mexican, it's because I represent Mexico. And that's why. What he's accomplished? Nothing. One single champion, Anthony Dirrell. Please, don't disrespect myself.
you know what? He's not ducking David Benavidez. The only reason he doesn't want to fight David Benavidez is because he's Mexican. He doesn't want to fight his own kind. And he doesn't have to fight David Benavidez. That was his response. But then after he beat Caleb Plant, and after David Benavidez absolutely destroyed Caleb Plant, this fight has to happen. Who could Canelo fight besides David Benavidez? And that will be an interesting fight. Well, obviously, Canelo has to get to Charlo first. If he beats Charlo, then it obviously sets it up perfectly for him versus David Benavidez. So we need to see this fight happen. So at the end of the day, obviously, I don't think Canelo's ducking David Benavidez. And obviously, David Benavidez is not ducking Canelo. He wants Canelo. So this fight needs to happen. But at the same time, we have to see what Canelo does against Charlo in order for this fight to happen. But if he beats Charlo, it's a perfect setup, Canelo versus David Benavidez. And I see no reason why this fight shouldn't happen.